Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we get to discuss how to grow 1% every single day in both business and in self. Today, we have Jonathan Jen Mentor, the founder and CEO of Successment, a revenue growth partner for diverse B2B tech startups, where he developed Boom, a four-step growth process that uncomplicates RevOps science. He is currently nominated for the United Nations World Summit Awards in the Dominican Republic. And I'm so excited. I'm tripping over my words here, Jonathan, to have you on the call. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here, man. I'm looking forward to vibing with you.
Yeah, and then you've built something very, very unique. And as we were talking before the call, you are really booming and working every single day to not only promote yourself and get yourself out there, but also to help your clients. So can you give us a little bit of a background of where this company came from, where your motivation to run this bad boy every single day comes from, and really where your strive is and what's unique about you and the company here?
Okay, it came from me being really, really poor and not wanting to finish school because I dropped out 3 times. So I needed to do something. I needed to do something productive, or else I would have ended up, I don't know, maybe selling CDs on the subway or, like a Starbucks barista. So, fast forward a couple of years, I had a daughter and I said to myself, I have got to do something a little bit more productive. So I started breaking into corporate. And once I broke into corporate, this was, like 15-ish years ago, I became really, really interested in learning how to move in that world because I had always been, unskilled labor, cashier, that kind of stuff. And then I learned that. And then the next step was, okay, what do I really like to do here? And what I really, really like to do is I like to build stuff. And nobody gets to build more fun stuff than the marketing department. So I learned everything that there was in the marketing and the sales, and I always got confused for one or the other. And I learned that industry really, really well. And then one step further within that industry was me saying to myself, yo, I want to do this like on my own. And I like technology. It's so much fun. It's so innovative. There's always room to invent. There's always room to grow. So I started really focusing on the tech and the startup space. And skipping a whole bunch of boring details, I surrounded myself with really, really smart people who gave me a really, really good opportunity in my full authenticity. And I beat a lot of, blue blood, Greenwich, Connecticut and Upper East Side, bros. And I was able to enter spaces that I wasn't supposed to be in. And I'm forever grateful for that, which led us to the Provoke Visibility campaign. I started Successment because, in my opinion, there are 2 ways to make a lot of money and, as a positive consequence, influence economics and society: real estate or technology. I'm not about to drive around in a Honda Accord selling houses all day. It's just not for me, right? I said technology is it, right? It's innovative, it's fun, it's provocative. The numbers are so big, the stakes are so high, it's so exciting, it's so glamorous to me. So over the years, we're talking now 15 years in, not only did I learn how to really grow startups, right? I learned how to converge not only just marketing, because marketing's one thing, but really converging revenue growth. And that consists of 5 pillars of recurring revenue, which is my favorite word, recurring revenue. And it's something that marketing or sales or product alone don't address in silos. So RevOps science is really focused on building the strategy, building the execution, and building predictable recurring revenue on 5 streams of revenue. That's the 4 corners of RevOps science. That's why we got the United Nations World Summit Awards nomination. And that's why we have 4 offices on 4 continents.
Oh, absolutely incredible. And you can hear the charisma, you can hear the energy coming through your voice of how much you actually love doing this, which
I really do.
It shows. I mean, it definitely shows in the progression and the growth. And let's dive into this development of the RevOps, because I really think that a lot of people do not understand how marketing and the general presentation of your business leads into revenue growth, and how that revenue growth needs to speak back to the marketing to understand what we need to acquire customers for,
Right.
what scaling capabilities, all of that information. So when you entered in the market, you highlighted a little bit that you felt like there was a huge disconnect there. There's a huge disconnect. Can you dive into a little bit more of how Successment dives into the actual RevOps science and what you're looking at the client that would be different than, say, if they worked with a different marketing agency?
Sure. When Successment came into the market, we saw, because we like to work with underrepresented folks. That represents me. Like, my inner child is just this underrepresented kid. Like, if I spoke to myself as an 8 or 9 year old, I'll be like, you're fucking cool, bro. You live in Dominican Republic. You live in a fucking penthouse. You have all this cool stuff. Like you get to do all this cool things. So at the end of the day, provoke visibility is a very real living part of why I get up every day and why Successment exists. When Successment entered the market, keeping in mind that we focus on underrepresented founders, within startup, there's under 9% of underrepresented startups that get any venture capital, right? That's like 1% of a couple of billion. I'm not that smart to remember all the statistics. I don't pretend to be, but it's all these billions of bucks, right? And like underrepresented startups get this amount. And then startup getting capital is analogous to like, oh, we've made it. And it's just like, but that's not how everybody works, right? There are plenty of startups in and outside of Silicon Valley, New York, Miami, Prague, London, all the startup centers around the world that are revenue led, right? And there was an over obsession and an overemphasis on I need to raise capital. And I'm like, you're not a bank, you're a startup. And what you need to do is you need to build a business. And a business is based on not just sales. Like I just need to get some sales because a sale today is churn tomorrow. It needs to be recurring, predictable revenue streams based on data that separates your passion from your profit, that makes sure that when you're not making sales, you have great retention. When you don't have great retention, you have great product development. When you don't have great product development, you're creating great visibility. So RevOps science is based on 3 elements called process, progress, and performance. Boom stands for begin, operate, obviate, and maximize. It frames the decision-making process. And at the decision-making process, to make it the easiest way possible, because we only have so much time, it's a game of Jeopardy where you always have to ask yourself, does this generate recurring revenue? Not a sale, not, because there are goals on the clock, which are called metrics in our world, Kyle. And then there are goals on the calendar, which is called revenue in our world, Kyle. And then the second piece is performance, the revenue growth formula. The revenue growth formula identifies the 5 pillars of recurring revenue within any business. And it seems almost suspiciously like a path to purchase, right? But we treat it differently because the 5 pillars are awareness, engagement, enablement, land, and expand. Marketing addresses generating awareness. It can even do engagement. Then it moves on to sales. Sales is in charge of enabling sales to make sure that money gets into the bank, right? But then land and expand, you need something totally different. There's weird islands called customer success for retention and upsell. And customer success won't know what to upsell with or upsell on until your base of customers provides the information based on their feedback or based on their quantitative or qualitative data in terms of, okay, I bought this thing. Now I want to buy this other thing from you, right? I came into you for a shape up in the barbershop, but the next thing I want you to do my beard and my eyebrows and dye this and, clip my nose hairs. And I want to, but I'm not going to go and guess that, right? Which is the way that marketing would work in a silo or sales would work in a silo, unless you align these 5 pillars on data to make sure that each of them understands awareness, engagement, enablement, land, and expands. All of them understands what role they play towards revenue growth and how they work together.
Okay, for all the entrepreneurs and the business owners listening to this right now, you pause the video, you go back 2 minutes, you listen to that, and then you're going to do that 2 more times, okay? You're going to do that 2 more times because that is, Jonathan, that is such a well-articulated way of structuring what business owners are actually supposed to be looking at for marketing, what they're actually supposed to be looking at in the sense of their growth. And recurring revenue. Recurring revenue means that the revenue is going to come in consistently across the board. Now, some of you people might be a home improvement business that say, hey, I'm selling a roof once every 12 years. That's great. How does that customer now give you a referral? How does that customer now have a chart that you can be able to sell on a secondary source, right? How do you get that person into an ecosystem to allow you to continue to make money from them? And that is what Jonathan and his team at Successment are doing. He's not only just assessing your business, but he's understanding what revenue pillars to structure correctly to see increase in actual profit, not just revenue in the business. Because that's the biggest thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about is the differentiation between profit and revenue, right? They're hugely different. I can spend $20 million and make some revenue, sell a customer. But if I don't generate more actual revenue than I have for expenses, I made 0 profit. And that's where a lot of you business owners, I think, are losing out on the understanding of, oh, I need to advertise only for profit, or I need to advertise for revenue and then the hopes of profit, where it's not the case. There should be holistic positioning between the two, where your efforts that go out for advertising might not generate direct profit today, but you have it in a system that will because of the recurring revenue over time. Jonathan, freaking super intelligent. But you talking like that gets me all pumped up and excited. I want to dive into a little bit of who you're working with, because I want the listeners to understand who should be reaching out to you and who should really be connecting with you. Let's dive into that bit of the undervalued entrepreneur, the underrepresented entrepreneur that you highlighted earlier. Can you highlight what that looks like?
Sure. So we work in 3 service verticals for 3 specific stages. And the way that we arrived at this destination is through our global partnerships with Techstars, with Pharrell's Black Ambition, with Startup, which are these big, huge startup ecosystems, right? These startup ecosystems are actually one kind of service that we offer because we do programming. It's kind of like startup school, like folks that, you go online, you learn how to code for 9 months, and then you get this great job as a coder. Well, if you go through an accelerator program, if you're a small business or if you're a startup, you go through this accelerator program, you come up with somebody like me, an ex-bartender, now I've arrived somewhere, right? I think. And then you get to learn how to generate recurring revenue streams. That's the first. The second is called growth partnerships, where we work directly with startups that are at or around $1 million annual recurring revenue. You already have a ton of data. You're ready to grow. You have money to invest in your growth. You have a long-term strategic plan that you want to challenge, that you want to vet out. And then you also need the boots on the ground, right? The growth partnership is neither strictly strategy nor tactics. Rather, what we do is we do both, right? We listen to find out what it is that you're doing that's working, move away from what's not working, challenge your strategy. That's my favorite part, right? That's like a Street Fighter, Ryu versus Ken battle of, okay, let's use this data to make these good decisions. Let's slow down so we can grow fast. Let's make sure that we're both speaking the same language. I'm not talking impressions and awareness on Facebook, right? And then you're talking about something else. I want to make sure that the goals that you have on the clock, we can both make accountability for and in executing. And then the goals on the calendar, which are revenue goals, that we're both comfortable with those things too. And that's where marketing sometimes gets it wrong. We're just speaking a different language, man. We understand that something of that vanity metric, right? Facebook impressions. Well, that matters at a certain point, right? But that doesn't need to be the focus of conversation. Let us continue to scale with each other, which is why we do a partnership. Now, all the way at the earliest stage of founders are coaching packages. We do coaching packages for MVP for MVP kind of startups who are like minimum viable product, that they're getting their feet wet. They want to make sure they're really excited. You know the type, Kyle. I'm really excited about this idea. I'm going to do this thing. I don't have any competition. Nobody's ever done this before. This is the biggest thing in the world. And it's just like, that's so great. Let's separate passion from profit. Let's make sure that we have a plan to go to market. Let's make sure we're not spending all this money. And for us, we operate at those 3 levels because we like to address the kind of startups that are at their 3 phases. If you're still not making a dime, invest in coaching to make sure that you don't waste your first $1 million. If you're already producing recurring revenue, now it's time to scale and defend that revenue in a sustainable way. What you were doing to generate $200,000 a year isn't the same thing that you're going to need to be doing at $1 million a year. So, get out of your own way, come to Successment, let's make some money. And then for the universities and accelerator programs, we put together the B2B Growth Lab.
Jonathan, your progression of confidence and your understanding of where you fit from going, as you said, from a bartender, from someone that had no relevance in the marketing to now having such a clear way to not just articulate, but execute the success that you're bringing to your clients is prominent, right? But to be able to understand how to put this operation structure together and have confidence behind it, you got to go through some trials and tribulations. You got to go through some problems to know what works and what doesn't work. For our listeners, do you have a story, potentially a challenge or a problem that you face in your business that you think would resonate with them, or potentially a challenge that you faced in the development of your company that changed the way that you do business?
I don't look at anything as a challenge. I look at it as an opportunity always. And I think that internal conversation matters. I also feel I don't feel anything. I am confident that when you use data to make decisions and you align on what painting it done looks like, and then you work backwards, it's very difficult for you to fail in that way. Look, one of the things that we do at Successment, which is the third element of RevOps science, we spoke about boom, the Jeopardy game. Does this end in recurring revenue? This thing that we're doing, is it going to, make me recurring revenue? A sale is the distinct thing. That's what. Then we talked about 5 pillars of recurring generating revenue, right? But we didn't talk about the last one, which is called progress. And these are called parallel growth plans. The reason why this is relevant to your question, Kyle, is because when you put the actual plan together, it's critical before you go to make sure, again, I can't say this enough. What do we need to hit tomorrow or next week in order to make sure that my long-term goal gets hit in 6 months, a year, 3 years? That's mission critical for you as a business owner or a founder, and for your team to be able to operate well towards revenue. Because if you don't plan it out that way, if you don't take that time to structure it that way, it's always going to be a challenge, especially with marketing. Marketing is one of the biggest investments that you make with such a delayed gratification, that if you don't understand what step you are in the game, and if that isn't mutually understood backwards and forwards, it's going to be very, very confusing. It's going to be very frustrating, and marketing gets a bad rap. There are 2 kind of marketers that I've come across, right? The strategists, who are forever talking about, just wait, we got to spend, it takes 9 months to make a baby. You got to keep waiting. Just wait. Just keep out putting more content. Just keep on. We need to do more. And it's a volume game for them. And then there are the subject matter experts. Any problem that you have is solved by shuffle the dice, SEO, email marketing, social media, ads. They have no flexibility in the way that they move. With the client, they don't see any of that. They're not caring about any of that, honestly. It sounds good. They're going to YouTube a couple of things. They're going to defend themselves. But what they're really focused on as a business is revenue. How are you going to get me there? What's the step? And if it's not in month 2, because month 2 is a setup. If month 3 is, I don't know, your first go to market, and this was designed to fail because this is your first ad campaign or whatever, make sure that your client knows that. Because if they don't, you're going to have nothing to go back on, and they're going to forget about the long-term thing. They're going to be like, this month is what matters, and this is where you're not performing. But if you take the time to plan that out with them and say, yo, in month 1, 2, and 3, this is a market testing period. If your business isn't mature enough to generate the kind of data that we need to perform for you, then maybe you should think about a different partnership, or maybe you should think about this in a different way, because I can't simply turn on an ad campaign for you tomorrow. I get clients like that all the time. Well, you're supposed to, change the app, put out more. What the hell is more going to do? If you're already wet standing in the rain, if it doesn't matter if it rains more or less, you're still going to get wet, right? But let us slow down to grow fast. And in this way, the way that Successment structures our client relationships, it lets them know, listen, we're not really going to see revenue in week 6. Actually, we're going to quote you month 6. And these are the reasons why, right? If we're missing something, let us know what resources that you have that we don't know about, that makes you think that by you hiring somebody to come save you, which is Successful, we don't save anybody. We make good startups and good businesses better. We make them generate faster. We decrease their experimentation period. As a business, the one thing, the one piece of advice, the one opportunity is always focus on the results of what you're selling, not what you're doing. Nobody cares about what you're doing, especially not if you're marketing. If you're marketing, listen, you're going to be busy all the time. I have 4 screens in my office. I look busy all the time. But if there's not a clear path, if there's not a script, this is month 1, this is month 2, this is hour 1, this is hour 2, that saves a lot of miscommunication.
Jonathan, I think you have every entrepreneur and every business owner that's ever worked with a marketing agency listening to this and nodding their head right now, because they have probably worked with so many companies that didn't have a structured timeline, a structured expectation, right? There's one thing to say that I can run Facebook ads, but there's another thing to say that I understand how to grow profitability off of Facebook. There's one thing to say I can build a Shopify store. There's another thing saying I can build a Shopify store that's designed to convert customers into sales, right? big conversation, a big miss in the market. And it's funny because, when this gets produced, the ads will be seen everywhere, but Tai Lopez just entered the market again in his advertising. I don't know if you've seen it in your social media profiles, but he is now pumping out a million different ads for how to start a social media marketing advertising, just like he did back in 2016. And the funny thing is that anybody can watch a YouTube video and anybody can put it together a Facebook campaign. It's really not that complicated. The difference is if you work with a company like Successment and you work with an individual like Jonathan, it's why are we doing this and how do they implement the success in the business? What you think about painting the picture is absolutely everything. Each one of us that work in the marketing field, we have our own unique factors, right? Your uniqueness is really understanding the integrated parts to the business that creates profit and how to lean into that success and be able to use the data to be able to push that forward. Ours is all about message testing, creative testing, and understanding what really works and what doesn't work and removing bad spend very quickly. But each agency and each individual has their own niche that they fall into. And for the entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, working with someone like Jonathan puts you in a position where you get everything. We've been on this conversation now for about 10 minutes, and I've gone through 50 of these podcasts. And I can tell you right now, not everyone has the full story together, the where we're starting, the journey that we're going through, the trials and tribulations that we're going to have, this early success that we're going to have, and how that leads to later failure, and how we're going to use that failure to overall win at the game of you growing your business. Jonathan, really putting it together, understanding in a way that's data backed, understanding it this way that's data backed by revenue, data backed by what the business actually cares about, not vanity numbers. And for everyone listening right now, your followers are a vanity number. It'll be very.
That's right. Unless they're bringing in the bacon.
Right. If you got followers and you got a high click rate on that link in your profile, great on you. But a lot of business owners, when they enter into the market, they think that they look at things because of social to think that they are important digits, they're important metrics, they're important factors of the growth of their company when they're really not. You have to have a clear game plan. So, Jonathan, I love that. And to break down, for trials and tribulations, you don't see anything as a challenge, just an opportunity growth. And it sounds like the real opportunity that you saw throughout the progression of your business is that you need to be well ingrained into the company to understand where they are and how to bring them into the next position, right? You have to make sure that you have systems that launch them and create that clear picture of where to go, but also be able to work with them throughout that process to not only mitigate their concerns and problems in each step, but also talk about how this leads into the next step of revenue. Super, super powerful. And I got to ask, because you're on the cutting edge, right? I believe from everyone that I talk to, you're in a position where your agency is going to boom, you're going to flourish, you're going to do amazing things. You've done amazing things and you continue to do so because of your mindset around it. But where do you see the industry going in the next 3 to 5 years? Let's pivot a little bit to where is Successment going in the next 3 to 5 years?
So for me, I think that AI, I don't pretend to be Nostradamus. It's a subject of great complexity, artificial intelligence, but I think that it's going to really impact the way that marketers market. I think that there's going to be a rebrand, because what you and I do, Kyle, it used to be called digital marketing, and then it was called growth marketing, and then was called super marketing, and then was called mega marketing, and then ultra marketing. It's all the same shit. It's been happening for the past 150 years. Companies need to increase their visibility, and through that visibility, they need to be able to convert and then generate sales, keep a base of clients, whatever. I think that AI is going to have an interesting impact in the way that the industry is going. I think that it's going to democratize access to information. And I think that it's going to make that information more questionable. I think that that good information, really good, clear, poignant advice and information is under attack. And I think that the way that AI as a tool is deployed is going to really have an interesting impact on that. I also, as now a global agency, because now we're in 3 countries, I really see the interconnectivity. I think that language is going to be less of a barrier. I think that markets are going to be more accessible to different companies doing that. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, at least in the circles that I'm moving, they're going to see the viability of, what, if it doesn't work in the US, maybe I can do another market. And maybe it might not be that scary of a thing to go and, open up a market in Mexico or Canada or Dominican Republic or, some other sub-market, because the goal is to make money, right? It's not to do it and have it be really, really difficult. For Successment, we're going to continue to provoke economic growth and visibility for underrepresented founders. We're going to continue expanding upon our legacy of already now 36 Black and Brown led startups generating their first $10 million in annual recurring revenue. That's $360 million between the US and the Caribbean economies and ecosystems, not to mention the countless jobs that our startups have been creating and the economic empowerment that it does within their communities. I think that we're going to really stop tiptoeing and really start stomping, because yes, we do strategy. Yes, we do the marketing and the tactics. Yes, we'll strategize the blueprint for the plane, and then we'll fly it with you with a pilot program, and then we'll get you into market, and then we'll write the content, and we'll build all of the things, everything like. But I'm really confident that our impact is going to be on, once we now take a look back to 2019 when we first started, and we really do like a family reunion of all the startups that came to us, and they were like, we're doing $100,000 this year, we're doing $600,000 this year, we're doing $1 million this year, and now they're in the millions, right? And we really have that family reunion event. I think that at least in the underrepresented ecosystem where I play, I mean, I'm probably a little pea in a pod to somebody in Silicon Valley, or maybe not. But within my circles where I move in New York and Miami and Dominican Republic and Mexico and Colombia and Panama and the Bahamas and Tulsa, Oklahoma, Texas, everything outside of Silicon Valley, pretty much, I think that presence is becoming known. And I think that we really are putting the pressure on a lot of agencies to really produce what it is that they say that they're going to produce, rather than wasting people's hard-earned capital, because capital is very hard to capture, right? I could say somebody's hard-earned money, but typically I don't work with people that operate grocery stores, although that's wonderful, but it's difficult to capture capital. So when you waste it on the wrong marketing partner, it hurts. So Successment, we want to be the vanguard of that kind of bullshit, because it really annoys me when I see some 16-year-old in front of his dad's Ferrari and car talking about what we can do Facebook ads and funnels. Like, that makes my skin crawl.
Jonathan, you and the Successment team deserve to be known. I loved what you said about being the vanguard of the crap that comes into our market, right? Everyone thinks that they can either watch a YouTube video, hire their cousin, or see the young 16-year-old that's using their Facebook to bring them in, grow their business, right? It's, and I've had this conversation with business owners before. It's like, hold on. If you think it was that easy, do you think there would be all these marketing agencies and these schoolings and this education based around it? If it was that easy, wouldn't have you already have done it and got it successfully done? The difficulty that comes behind marketing, and I think that the uniqueness that you have in the market and what Successment has in the market, is a full understanding of business, not understanding of marketing, a full understanding of business, and then how that marketing comes into play with business, how the sales come into play with business, and how that structure is supposed to be an holistic environment that meshes together for one core purpose: drive revenue in the company. And then one core value of that, when we're doing this, it leads to profit on the back end. And for business owners, to entrepreneurs, and business owners listening, make sure you separate those two numbers in your head. You make sure you have a clear understanding of the two differences. And the involvement that Successment has in their clients and the way that you're working, it literally puts a smile on my face, because I am much like you, where I have been calling out the bullshit for years now, of people stealing data, people not structuring for success, of people, you paying someone to do Facebook advertising for you, and I go to look at your website and there's not even a metapixel on there. They don't look at data, they don't look at anything that actually correlates to the revenue generating efforts of a business. So I love it, Jonathan. I think you and Successment deserve to be known, deserve to be well-renowned, and the progress that you're going, what you've done for these startups is just, so heartfelt from another marketer. I love what you're doing. Love the angle you're going at it. I got to ask, how do you find your Kaizen? For the listeners out there, and for you, if you haven't heard it, Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% progression in both business and in self every single day. Mm-hmm. Now, for someone like you who is on the cusp of all of these concepts of how to actually leverage marketing. I'm the cusp of these startups and helping them develop. What do you do, Jonathan, throughout the day to make sure that you yourself are posed to continuously progress and become a better person for you, your staff, your family, and everything else, as well as how do you stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in the marketing world and how to help these startups?
So one thing is my relationship with God. I think that that's very important. And I think that not enough people talk about how important that is and how that's been disappearing in the United States in many circles. It's not cool anymore. Well, ain't no motherfucker cooler than me, baby. And I'm down with God. So that's number one. Number two is being close to where you feel like your best self. For me and my daughter, it was coming to Dominican Republic. It was coming and having a breath of fresh air. It was being in the culture that makes us feel familiar and just happy and grounded and centered. Like I recommend, man, if you're a really serious entrepreneur, and I'm not talking about, like the daycare owner that is like, month to month, and they're not really ambitious. They're just kind of, they're cool. They want their status quo. It's like a family business. Great. That's not my kind of client. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that kind of entrepreneur. But if you're an entrepreneur that has real ambitions, you must travel. It's not even a line item. It is a must. You must. It's like there's nothing more important than making sure that you are stoic and peaceful and full of creativity and seeing new things. And you could see outside the hamster wheel and you get back to your why. And you're not just doing these things that I'm just posting a post because I just gotta, gotta get these calls and gotta get it. Just slow down, chew your food, swallow, take it easy, get on a plane, go somewhere, have a conversation at a bus stop with a 90-year-old. You have to get out of your own head, get out of your own way, and understand that there are better ways to do things when it comes to your mindset. There are many colleagues of mine who recommend a lot of books. I used to read like a lot of books. I'm more a fan of, I just need to get out. I don't need to particularly get out in nature or anything like that. I'm more of a city guy. So my thing is, views. Like I have one of the best views in Santo Domingo. I have a pool and a jacuzzi right above my head. These are the things that inspire me. Within my business, true to the revenue growth formula, which is part of RevOps science, I always make sure that I take a look at the 5 pillars. Have I done something to generate visibility today? Have I done something to generate awareness? Have I done something to generate engagement? Have I enabled a sale today? Have I landed or retained a new account? Or have I thought about how can I upsell and up value a current account? I don't need to sell anymore, right? I'm at the point of the game and it's not arrogance. It's just simply just time spent in market with Successment. Most of our clients come to us through referral. They no longer come to us like in crisis. That used to be like 90% of our clients. Oh my God, save us. And we're just like, we're not going to save you. We're going to enhance what you already have. And if it's a really bad idea, then we're going to make sure that we course correct. And that's going to be really painful because you're not going to be like our other startups because our other startups are them and you're you. So we need to focus on the resources you have. I think that keeping myself grounded there and knowing that we have the power to say no and knowing the warning signs of clients that are not like the best fit, like that's a really big one, right? That's a really, really big one. It might hurt in the short term, like for your short term, keep your lights on. Yeah. You got to take a project. Like, let's be realistic. I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not going to sit there and say, just fuck it. You just fuck it. No. Keep your fucking lights on and feed your kids. But when you're at a cruising altitude where you can understand what a good client is from a not so good client, there's a lot of qualitative data there. I always think about things in terms of data. So understand, learn from your mistakes and make sure that when you're taking on a client, you actually grow from them too, because you can learn from them because they might have a very unique situation or a unique way of thinking about it or a unique way of measuring something that can help you. Because I still remember opportunities and challenges that I had from 3 years ago that I'm like, oh shit, that's what that meant. Cool. And then I apply it now because but you have to go through those things. And the last thing that I really want everybody to remember, if you haven't listened to a word I said, is the best entrepreneurs are built through adversity. If you haven't gone through a month where you're like, oh my God, like, how am I going to eat? Like my cell phone I have no gas if you have not gone through that 3, 4, 5, 6 month period, you're not ready. Go work at Wendy's. You have to go. So if you're listening to this and you're there right now, you better not motherfucking give up, or else you better call me. You understand what I'm telling you? That is the most poignant advice that I can give to any entrepreneur. That's where you get all of your stripes. You have to go through the adversity. You have to understand what it's like to feel that pressure, because that same pressure, if your service is based like us, Kyle, those clients are coming to you with that same pressure. You don't know how much they sacrifice to be able to pay for your services. You don't know what other line item they have, right? You don't know what baby shower or kid's birthday or wedding is coming up that they're sacrificing to pay for your services. Be good to them and make sure that you remember when you were in their position, and it'll make you work that much harder for them and be that much more successful with them.
Geez, Jonathan, just so many gold nuggets. I mean, from the separating yourself from the noise and making sure that you ground yourself and you find out who you really are and find the confidence by traveling, by getting out, by enjoying your life, right? Super, super important. And then to dive in to, yes, adversity, right? As you're saying that, I can remember the 3 or 4 months of ramen where I'm barely able to drive and I'm doing more phone calls than I am driving because I don't have the gas to get there until I close a deal. Like there has to be, there's so many people that give up right before gold. And if you are in that position of adversity, just as Jonathan said, don't give up, strive, push past it. Diamonds are created under pressure. You need pressure to become something valuable and something extraordinary in this world. And Jonathan, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I'm having such an ecstatic time talking to you because we definitely align on a lot of different points and a lot of different factors of how business is supposed to be grown, how you're supposed to look at marketing and sales, but also as a human being and as an entrepreneur, how are you supposed to face this life? How are you supposed to wake up every day and enjoy what you do, enjoy the difficulties, enjoy the adversities, enjoy the problems. And as you said before, like you got to give appreciation to God. God gives these opportunities in front of us, not knowing what they are, right? We ask for patience. We don't be given patience. We give an opportunity to be patient. So being able to understand that you are in the opportunity you're in right now so that you can flourish and become the person that you want to be. So beautiful stuff, Jonathan. Seriously, I have one more bonus question for you. I know you said you don't read much anymore, but throughout your passings, have you ever read the book Atlas Shrugged?
Yo, yes, I did. That's so crazy. Yeah. Wow, that's such a political book. I'm nervous about what's coming next, but go ahead.
No, nothing against politics. I just like the ideology of the book. For the listeners out there that haven't read the book before, Atlas Shrugged is a book that bases the concept of every one of us, you listening to this right now, Jonathan, me, we're the business owners of the world, move the world forward every single day. Without business, without operations, ideas are just ideas, and the world doesn't change with ideas. The world changes with action. So the book Atlas Shrugged talked about what would happen if all of us business owners would just step away from business. We would just walk away and not decide to take the pressure of the world on our shoulders and just let it be. Well, my question to you, Jonathan, is say today, Atlas Shrugged, me, you, all the other businesses owners out there, we stepped away from our companies. The restaurants were still there. The home improvement materials still exist. Internet and it all is still live, but no actual structured business is functioning within the world. What would be the first business that you would create tomorrow?
Let me collect my thoughts. That's a really, really good question. I would likely create a business that helps people find solutions to their problems, because they just want a problem solved. It might manifest in different ways, for example, a guy, right? As a guy, you want confidence. You're going to go to the barbershop, you're going to buy a bottle of cologne. You're buying confidence at the end of the day. I think that a solution finder and builder, which is a big part of what we do at Successment, will probably be that kind of business. That will be that concierge business of, all these businesses aren't working. Now you have to find a solution. How do you see the solution? Okay, we're going to build it for you. And then once it's built, we're going to see it through with you.
So, I mean, for the entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, I just posed the question of, hey, if the world got flipped over, what would you do? And Jonathan said, I'd be doing the same damn thing that I'm doing today because I love it. I'm passionate about it. This is what I live for. And that is such a powerful thing to say, because for the individuals in the B2B space or in the startup space that are looking for someone like you, you wouldn't want to have anybody else in your corner, someone that understands the structural system around your business, that understands how your marketing and sales need to integrate together, that understands that these systems need to create recurring revenue for your business so that you can scale and compound on the success and actually develop into an operation system where you can confidently know the type of revenue and the type of growth that you're going to have in your company. So got to ask, Jonathan, for the people that are all excited that are listening to us right now, how do they connect with you? How would these people find you?
I'm very easy to find. You can Google me. It'll lead everywhere, right? Just Jonathan J Mentor, Jonathan, middle initial J for Joel, Mentor. And yes, that is my last name. It is not a gimmick. I was born with that name. Or you can find us by looking up Successment. I think we're really ranking for a couple of things on Google. Don't ask me what those things are. That's a Janelle question, my beautiful partner. But anything, Jonathan J Mentor, you can find me on my website. Jonathan J Mentor leads you to all of my social media. I'm no longer on Twitter, not for any specific reason. I'm just not a Twitter fan, whatever. I'm not good at keeping shit concise and content, whatever. But I'm everywhere else though. So if you find my old Twitter, I'm probably not going to answer, but YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the goodies. You can find me. I'm not hiding anywhere.
Love that. All the information is going to be found below in the description, so you guys will be able to contact Jonathan, reach out to him if you need help. And do me a favor, if you've gone to the end of this video, make sure you comment below one thing that you learned from Jonathan here. I know I took some golden nuggets away from this interview. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. For the listeners out there, we will see you on the next one.